Welcome, everyone, to Influential Leadership. I'm John Hadley.
And I'm Dave Miller.
Dave, what I wanted to share today came out of a study that LinkedIn did recently that I thought was pretty interesting. There was an article in the Times that talked about this LinkedIn survey about the road to CEO or CXO or VP level.
Okay.
And there were a few things that they talked about here. One is that they talked about having experiences in as many functional areas as possible, which makes sense to me. The second was that they talked about switching industries as counterproductive, that the value that you get from the various functional areas may not be as valuable if it's from different industries. So they found a negative correlation to switching industries and getting to that senior level. And the third one that I thought was kind of surprising was that switching companies seems to be irrelevant.
Yeah, that's surprising to me too. I had a client years ago who wanted to be a CEO, and so he studied other CEOs. And one of the patterns he did find was most CEOs, almost all of them without exception, worked in multiple companies. So I'm a little surprised to see that, but if that's what they're finding.
Yeah, well, the statistics they did, and they did this by, I guess, surveying 450,000 current or former management consultants. And the data seemed to show that it just made no difference. Some of these leaders had switched companies and some hadn't.
Okay.
And then there was another study that the article referred to, that this group Burning Glass that does labor market analysis based on job descriptions and what's being posted out there. They found that there's a big surge in demand for hybrid jobs where you're involving multiple functional areas, multiple skill sets in one job. And they found that the highest value were the ones that required skills that they said don't tend to ride together in nature. So this might be, for instance, the actuary who is responsible not just for the actuarial group, but also for the marketing group. Because actuaries and marketing skills, they're not a traditional combination. And if you can really master both of those disparate areas and function well, one, you point to having a really unique skill set that makes you uniquely valuable, but also you're doing that, what's the first bullet around having mastered multiple functional areas. Now, one of the things it strikes me is, back in my experience as an actuarial student, we were automatically rotated around to different areas of the company to gain experience in a lot of different functional or actuarial functional areas. And one of the things I did was I looked for areas where it wasn't necessarily different actuarial functions that I was mastering, but for instance, I rotated into underwriting. It was a really interesting area. And it wasn't one that very many actuarial students look to rotate to. But I felt like it gave me a whole different knowledge set, a different look at the company in a functional area that you wouldn't normally rotate through as an actuary. And so I think that gave me a little bit of an edge in terms of unique skill set. And later on, that led to me writing actually a chapter of a textbook on underwriting for the Society of Actuaries. So I think there's a lot of value to this, and particularly I think a lot of the value the actuaries bring to the table can be the fact that you have a deep understanding of a broad set of functional areas versus just the actuarial talents that you bring to the table.
Yeah, I think that's true for any technical professional. The theme I see here is that it's not as important for senior positions to be the technical expert, although you need to have a certain level of competency to understand what's going on. But as you grow, as you take on higher positions in the company, it becomes less about technical expertise and more about strategic and people expertise.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you have to be in the top 1% of underwriters and claims managers and change experts and collection and so on. But it means you have to be good. You have to have a good level of mastery of all of those to really function at that very senior level. And for instance, I think of my father, who was an attorney, and he retired as the head name partner of his law firm. Now, to become the head name partner of a law firm, you don't need to master functional areas outside of the law necessarily, except for perhaps business development functions and maybe some of the administrative functions. But you need to there say, I need to have a level of expertise with all of the practice areas that my law firm deals with. So I'd look at all those as different functional areas.
So what do you suggest leaders that want a senior position in their company, a C-level position, what should they be doing to cultivate that?
The first thing is to come up with a checklist of all the different functional areas that you should develop mastery in that will make you attractive as a C-level executive. And then measure rate to your own degree as best you can where you think you are in your mastery of each of those areas. And then pick one that is one of the ones that you're weak in and say, what steps can I take to develop my expertise in this area? Could be that I find a way to rotate into that area. I mean, that would be one of the most straightforward ways. Another could be taking on a special project that gets you closely involved with that area. And a third, if neither of those are available in the short term, is identify key people in that functional area and start getting close to them. Develop a strong relationship. Get to know them and their thinking, the way that they operate. Talk to them about the challenges their area faces so you can develop the expertise that way.
It's a great tip, John.
Thanks. So thanks for listening in. Look forward to talking to y'all next week.
And in the meantime, be influential.